Welcome back for this third part of the digital publishing tutorial. As you can tell, I redid the cover a little bit from last time. I forgot that I need to drop in a company logo, and I went ahead and got a logo from our Brands of the World website. I went ahead and just saw something that I thought would look good, and I went ahead and pulled that down. So this is Jets Go, and I'm just making this up as I go here. So I just went ahead and just called it Jets Go Travel. And so to put this logo on the front cover, I went ahead and just kind of rearranged things a little bit so that the logo will fit in comfortably. So this is the kind of redesign, not really limiting anything. I just kind of moved everything around a little bit. So here's our cover, and as we go down, you'll see we have our two middle pages, and I went ahead and dropped some type in there. And here's our logo down here with the information so they can call. One thing I need to do here is go ahead and make a drop cap. If you ever want to know how to make a drop cap, you just kind of highlight the first letter. And we're going to go down to our paragraph panel. And under the paragraph panel, you'll see where it says drop caps and nested styles. If you select that, you'll see this menu appear, and it's going to ask you how many lines you want your drop cap to take. So basically you just kind of highlight it. I want 1, 2, let's go ahead and make it 3. So I'm going to have it do 1 character, 3 lines, and I have the preview turned on so you can kind of see what it's going to look like when we make it. If you're happy with that, just go ahead and say OK. And now we have a drop cap on our layout. Anyway, here's our center page spread using our graphic that we created in the last video. And on our last page, I went ahead and made like a little collage of pictures that I had gotten from all those website resources that we talked about, and put it on the back page a little bit. And we're ready basically to start the interactive part of this layout. So this looks good just as a print version, but what we want is we want to go ahead and put a little animation in here. So what we want to do is switch over from our normal printing and proofing over to digital publishing. So let's go ahead and switch that over now. And you'll see that we have some new items here. And primarily we'll be working with the animation part of it. So let's open up that animation panel, have that ready, and we'll select one of the items. When we do, you'll see it has a name. If you wanted to rename it, you could, but let's just go ahead and leave that as is. And we have a number of presets we can use for doing these animations. Now, these animations that we're going to create is reminiscent of some of these websites that used to use something called Flash. And Flash was a program that was made primarily for animation and became one of the dominant plugins for when you're using the web for browsing. A lot of websites use Flash animation using the Flash player installed on their computers. Now, the reason why you don't hear too much about Flash anymore is because of the Apple iPhone. Now, it has been said that Steve Jobs and Adobe didn't really get along too well. And there has been rumored that there's some animosity between these guys. But when Steve Jobs came out with the original iPhone, the iPhone did not support Flash. Now, you talk about a company that can change the industry because Apple did not support the Flash plugin or Flash animation at all. A lot of places had to redo how they actually made and created their content. One of the biggest ones is actually YouTube. YouTube redid their whole infrastructure to support that iPhone. That's amazing. That's pretty amazing for one company to have that much influence on an industry. Now, because of that, Flash quickly became irrelevant. So basically, they renamed the program to Adobe Animate, and that's where it is today. So anyway, enough of that. When we select our item, we'll have some presets on what we want. And for example, let's go ahead and tell it to fade in. And you'll get a little preview up here of the effect that you're going to get. And you can dictate how long you want it to be. Let's go ahead and make it 1.5 seconds. Oh no, you know what? Let's just go back to 1. Just make it 1 second. And we can actually click down here in the bottom left, a little preview of what it's going to look like. So if you click it, you'll get a screen and it will basically show you what the effect is going to look like when you look at this through the digital publishing. Now, one thing that you're going to notice, and it's like, hey, wait a minute. I don't see any of the drop shadows here in this preview. Now, this preview, and if you don't get it as large as I do, you can resize that if you want, that little preview box. But anyway, for some reason, it does not support the drop shadow on text. It supports the drop shadow on photos. Okay, that's why I went and put a drop shadow on one of these. We'll go ahead and put drop shadows on those guys too. But I was going to show you that, hey, this drop shadow is missing, so that's no good. Now there is a fix for this. Let me go ahead and close up the animation. What I want you to do, if you have any effects like I did drop shadows on these. You're gonna have to make sure you do this to a duplicate of the file that you made this. So in case you wanted to edit this text, because we're going to be converting it. So make sure you do this to a duplicate of what you made or what you typed out, just in case you have to go back. So to fix this, you have to just select your type, and under type, we're going to say create outlines. Now, when we create outlines, you'll see that it's now called a group, because now this is a group of items because it's not text anymore. So you really can't edit that. Let's go ahead and tell it to fade in now. And let's check that preview again. Now you'll see that the text fades in with the drop shadow. Okay? So make sure when you're going to be doing text that we want to go ahead and convert these items to outlines so that we can actually do some effects on them. I'm going to go ahead and give my other pictures a drop shadow. So now we have the top part fading in. We can do something different with these. I'm going to select them both and make them a group. I'm going to group those things together. And we're going to select Zoom In 2D. And on the preview, you'll see that it zooms in. Now let's get a preview on that. There's what it looks like. So we got the top part fading in, the second part zooming in. And let's see if we can finish this up. Now you can go back and do some adjustments. So like for example, if I want to go back to the very first part and increase that duration to 1.5 seconds, I can. And these go in sequence. So we could do this first part, second part, and then we can have these all come in. And what I'm going to do with the photos is I'm going to have it come in, fly in from the left. This picture I'm going to have fly in from the bottom. And this picture I'm going to have fly in from the right. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. Wonderful. I like it. Let's go ahead and stop with that with the first page. And I'm going to save what I got. And I'll continue on, and we'll go over and you can play with the various effects for the other pages. And I'll be right back and I'll show you what I came up with. So here's what I came up with. Let me go ahead and turn on the preview. And you'll see when the animation comes up, the graphic comes up, the text comes after that, and the logo there at the end. Now one thing I noticed, actually I did this on purpose, is you'll see that this right-hand text comes up before the left-hand text, and it should be the other way around. Now, if you do something like this and you want to change the order on which it comes in, you can go over to the timing panel, and if you click on that, you'll see a list of items that are on there. Now the first one that's going to happen is the father PSD, which is our background graphic. Then we have mythical, which is basically this panel of text. Then we have the hit the waves, which is the other block of text. And then the last thing is the group, which is the logo. Now, to change the order of which it comes in, I'm going to go ahead and take hit the waves, and I'm going to click and hold and drag it up so that after the photo comes in, then the left hand block of text comes in instead. Then the right hand side of the text comes in, then the logo. Let's go ahead and check that out and rerun. You'll see now the text comes in properly. Left hand side, right hand side, and the logo. Wonderful. Let me go ahead and save that. And let me take you down to the last page and run the preview on this. And you'll see that I've grouped pictures together to have them fade in separately. And I had the logo give a little bit of a dance. And we're done. Now the key thing to this whole piece is that the layout really should look good standing by itself. Okay, with no animation at all. And this is nothing more than to give us a little extra snap, crackle, and pop, as they call it. A little bit extra something, so when we actually see the printed version, that it gives you a little bit of animation to go with it. All right, so now that we're happy with what we have, the next thing we need to do is basically publish this online. Now, if you notice, I didn't mention anything about the resolution about any of these photos. And I've always said that when you grab these photos, get them in the highest resolution that you can. Okay? So if you have a choice, get the largest photo or graphic that you can when you download them. All right? That way, you'll have the biggest graphic to work with. You don't have to worry about it not looking good if we make it larger. Okay? And the nice thing about this whole thing is when we push this up, and this is our next step, when we push this up online, it's going to automatically change everything for us and convert them when we push it up. So the last step to this is actually pushing it up online. And to do that, we'll go all the way up to the very top right hand side, and you'll see a little box with an arrow that actually says share. If you put your tooltip on it, if you click it, you'll have some options here. We can export this as a PDF, package, share for review, or we can do the publish online. If we select that, you'll get a dialog box and it will say publish as new document. We can give it a title. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that as digital publishing, but I'll go ahead and cap the words. If you want, you could put a little description on there. And we have some options. We can export it as single or export it as spread. You want to make sure that we do it as spread so that it will allow us to see those two middle pages together rather than just a single page. So we also want to check the allow views to download. That gives us a method of downloading it as a PDF, Now, when we download it as a print PDF, it's not going to have any of the actual animation that we put on it, but will allow them to pull it down and open it up as a regular PDF. Okay, that's why I'm saying that this must look right as a regular document would. All right, so that if people don't want to look at it or pull it down to be able to print it out, it'll look correct. So let's go ahead and make sure that that is checked and click on publish, and it will turn around and start pushing that up online for us. And we'll just wait, and I'll come back when it's finished. Now when it's done, you'll see that it shows it's been uploaded successfully. We can copy that URL, and it's actually over on the Adobe server. And we have the option to turn around and view this over in our browser. There's the document online. And all the effects seem to be there. And this is how they would view it in their browser. Now with this, you can take the URL that they gave you, and you can copy that and put it as a link onto your website or your social media or as an email to send out for people to look at and to enjoy. It's a wonderful addition. Instead of just giving somebody or putting on a website just a PDF for them to download or to look at, and it doesn't really do anything. This will give your document a better presentation on what the message you're trying to give. And it's just another option that you can use when using InDesign for publishing your document online. Now, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't try and overdo all the effects, okay, because you can overdo it sometimes. But I think this is a great way to present your document, either a flyer or a brochure or even a magazine or newsletter to your clients or customers online.